What's up, people? I'm back again. I'm trying to be a little bit more regular whenever I get time. Things are quieting down for me, so I'm gonna try and do what I can when I can. Try and do as much as I can in one stream as possible. Today, I just wanted to look at a few videos I found interesting. I wanted to cover the police, uh, the legislation regarding COVID, and some interesting channels that I found um, uh, for my UK brothers and sisters and for the US brothers and sisters um, to follow um, regarding social distancing, getting out and about, and what exactly is going on with these laws. But I gotta play this. I gotta play this one more time. Shared by Tim Muslim. Absolutely hilarious.
Satan, you bow your knee. Satan, you bow your knee. You fall on your face. You fall on your face.
You found it funny for a second.
COVID-19. I blow
He just gave COVID to the whole congregation.
on you. I blow the wind of God. The wind of God. COVID-19. I blow the wind of God. The wind of God. COVID-19. Blow the wind of God. The wind of God. COVID-19. Blow the wind of God. The wind of God. Jesus.
That Jesus, indeed. That is how a lot of the religious people look to me right now, in general. So first video I want to look at. Okay, this video here is a video France, the one I played when the music was playing. People are desperate for football. I've been saying it to my boys over here in the UK, like, let's get leagues going, let's get playing. Unfortunately, most people are in big time fear of even trying to attempt going outside. But here in France, football is such a staple that they can't do without it. Two teams here got 400 people together, and they rushed the pitch. So they're saying this area is gonna spike with COVID cases now, because the people wouldn't listen. So it'd be interesting to look at this area in Strasbourg and see what they say regarding COVID cases in the next few days. But yeah, what are the police gonna do if people turn up and just start playing, 20 league football and decide to split, Just saying, it could still play football and social distance, but people are outside. My neighbors are outside mingling, for the most part. So who isn't? But this is the video I wanted to take a look at. Interesting video posted by Yusuf L. I don't promote all of his stuff because a lot of his stuff, his videos have a lot of anti-Semitic rhetoric within. But this video he posted, the Kobe Bryant connection, I found it interesting. I haven't had time to look deep into everything in the video, but I just like to play it and like to know what everybody thinks. I don't know. I'd like to also know if this thing is live. So if anyone can comment.
Involving inner magic.
I am pushing the stream quite a bit because I'm live in many places at once.
The last children's book he was writing was deleted by the author after Kobe died. The author claimed, "I deleted it. It wouldn't benefit anyone." His basketball stardom continued to rise, making millions, getting more endorsement deals, which eventually led him to his next endeavor. In 2013, Kobe Bryant partnered with Jeff Steibel and created Bryant & Steibel, a venture capital firm focusing on developing technology, gaming, data, and media. For those that don't know, Jeff Steibel looks like Charles Manson and has started pro-transhumanism companies that implanted computer chips onto people's brains to enable control of electrical devices through thought. He innovated the convergence of mind and machine, among other creepy ventures. When Bryant & Steibel went public at the New York Stock Exchange, Bryant was introduced to Cindy Me. Cindy is the creator of an online children's education initiative called VIP Kid, which is backed by the Chinese Communist Party out of Beijing. Chinese President Xi stated, "All education will be the training basis for the next Red generation, creating the future socialists." After meeting Cindy, Kobe wrote her a $1 million check to help fund VIP Kid. VIP Kid went on to recruit 600 students and 3,000 teachers from the United States. If you're up on current events, you will know there is a divide among Taiwan and China. Taiwan wants independence, and the U.S. is one of their biggest allies. Some of the teacher recruits for VIP Kids were discussing the Taiwan issue, and they were kicked out and sent home. Wendy Deng is the only board member of VIP Kids. Deng is from the Shandong province of China, but currently resides in New York City. She has a famously cozy relationship with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. In 2017, counterintelligence officials warned Jared Kushner that Wendy Deng might be using their relationship to spy for the Chinese government. Wendy was also married to media mogul Rupert Murdoch. And let's not forget Dianne Feinstein and her Chinese spy, her driver of 30 years. There is a list on Wikipedia of the known Chinese spies who were caught, and it has become quite the concern in 2020 amidst the coronavirus outbreak. Another investor of VIP Kids is a Chinese billionaire, Jack Ma, from the Alibaba Group. Jack Ma hired Kobe Bryant to participate in a startup called Fun88, which is an online casino and gaming website, which is now currently owned by Joseph C. Lewis.
Thanks, Empress.
Joseph C. Lewis teamed up with George Soros on foreign exchange trade deals and is the main investor in Tavistock, and in 2007 made an $864 million investment in Bear Stearns. Jeffrey Epstein joined Bear Stearns in 1976, climbed the social ladder by giving the bank's wealthiest clients, such as Seagram president Edgar Bronfman, on tax mitigation strategies. If you remember, Edgar Bronfman's daughter Claire pleaded guilty in the Nexium sex slave case and is now in prison. In the book, Man of the World, The Future Endeavors of Bill Clinton, page 414 mentions how Kobe Bryant was signed on to Teneo Sports in 2014 and went on to donate money to Tavistock Group and the Tavistock Clinics. One of the best-kept secrets of the Tavistock Group is that it's funded by the Rockefeller family and the Chinese Communist Party. Important figureheads involved in Tavistock are Henry Kissinger and Sigmund Freud. This institution is infamous for their mind control experiments, control on world's agriculture, eugenics, and depopulation. Why is Kobe Bryant donating money to these communist institutions? Now let's get into the pharmaceutical connection. John Kapoor, the big investor of high-tech pharmaceuticals and executive of Insys Therapeutic Corporation, is now serving 66 months in prison for lacing his Black Mamba Hyper-Rush energy pills with opioids. Kobe Bryant was in the process of suing the company for brand infringement. Now with this case, we have Insys Therapeutics, an Acorn pharmaceutical company which owns high-tech pharmaceuticals. Kobe Bryant was scheduled to go to court on January 29, 2020 to expose these companies, but he died on January 26th. What is so strange about this? Other than the fact that Kobe died, I discovered that Jeff Steibel owns high shares and stocks in all three of these pharmaceutical companies.
I'd like to know how she knows that's a fact.
Teva Pharmaceuticals and Novartis were involved in the largest cartel case in history involving price fixing of their drugs. This was so huge it involved 44 states. Did you even hear about this? Apotex is a Canadian pharmaceutical company created by Barry Sherman, a member of the Jewish Congress in Canada. Barry Sherman and his wife were involved in a honeypot scandal of sending a woman to Teva Pharmaceuticals in Israel to seduce a high-ranking executive to get him to extract information about the patent for Azilect, the cure for Parkinson's disease. They were successful in stealing the patent, and although didn't admit to patent infringement, he dubbed himself the Robin Hood of pharmaceuticals. As a result, Teva, out of Israel, lost billions of dollars over this loss. Barry and his wife Honey were found strangled to death in their home in 2017. I also discovered that Apotex was a partner of the Clinton Foundation, and they provided generic vaccines to the Clintons' Haiti project. Whether they knew too much about the Clintons or were murdered by the Mossad, you be the judge. Speaking of murder, Patrick Soon-Shiong was a mentor to Kobe Bryant, bought the LA Times, and owned lots of stock in Teva and Novartis, the companies Kobe was going to expose. Anthony Fauci went on record stating that he was proud of the work he did while working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Clinton Initiative of Haiti. Fauci is also a member of the Populations Institute with Bill Gates. COVID-19 is starting to look like a political tool used for global positioning, which brings me to the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative was launched in 2013 by President Xi to develop and collect investments that would stretch from Asia to Europe, significantly expanding China's economic and cultural influence on the world. Some countries, like the United States, saw this as China's Trojan horse that could potentially have negative consequences and allow them to expand their military. The countries that have aligned themselves with China's political initiative are not being hit with COVID. The countries that are at odds with the initiative have been hit hard. Coincidence? There is another theory about Trump's trade deal with China. Could that have been another victim of the COVID-19 outbreak? The Pirbright Institute bought the coronavirus patent in 2018, which is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Novartis bought the coronavirus patent from the Chiron Corporation in 2006. During the same year, Novartis bought out the Chiron Corporation and it no longer exists. You can still see the coronavirus filing of 2004 on the US and Patent Trademark website. So if this was a Chinese psyop, why are there thousands of Chinese dying from COVID-19? If you look at the provincial map of COVID-19 affected areas of China, you will see that Beijing is hardly affected. Beijing is the epicenter of communist power. Where do Bill and Melinda Gates have their office in China? Beijing. When you look at the areas being hit hard by COVID-19, you have Guangdong, which was the hotspot for SARS back in 2003, Wuhan, where the infamous Wuhan Institute is located, and Hong Kong, coincidentally where the anti-government protests were taking place just before COVID-19 broke out. Remember Daryl Morey, the general manager of the NBA, tweeted in support of the Hong Kong protesters? His tweet ended a long-time relationship with China, and Kobe Bryant never said a word. So where does this leave America? The answer is, I don't know. What I do know is this seems to be the biggest global conspiracy in the history of the world. Is this a communist takeover? Or is China just a pawn for the global elite? If you aren't familiar with Project Bluebeam, I will give you a quick synopsis.
Don't know about all of that nonsense, but yeah, interesting connections between some interesting people there. I'd like to know if anyone has some thoughts on that. But that's not the Kobe's pretty interesting. IPS again did a good auto hoax of Kobe's death. Comedy Central having removing a video with predictive programming on his death. US, UK, US. I think I'm gonna start here. I think this is a cool video. These guys, Surveyor Raw, I think MVP posted it, but really cool videos that they do. They basically take email requests of where people are acting, where government officials, public servants are basically abusing their authority and they'll go to the locations. And this is what they did in this occasion. They went to the location, and they went and walked by on a public path to see the reaction that they'd get.
Right.
So I agreed with him that I would stay out of the parking lot.
Right.
I'm going to move to the sidewalk here.
That's for the record. I'm not giving you any right to.
1 second as it loads, but I'll put the link.
How you doing, man?
Hey guys, what are you guys reporting on?
This little COVID thing here.
Okay, this little COVID thing. So,
It's a testing site.
yes, it is. I'm gonna give you my name is Yo Nomro, and I've been very invasive about this exact topic for days now.
What do you mean?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've been digging into every one of their sites, every one of their buildings, every one of these skyscrapers through this entire city. Last time was our boys in blue, tail tested, pure dudes. Step 4, they need to clean it up a little bit.
These guys?
Those guys, true blue. Like Seattle's fucking heart's fucking pure.
So you said you've been trying to get tested in these different buildings?
No, I'm cool. I did that already. But I've been just walking through and observing everything.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what we're doing, but they got really upset.
Nobody. Just exercise my American free right.
Right.
Just observing.
Yeah.
And now, check it out. This is it. As far as the COVID thing and all that stuff, it's God's plan, man. Just accept it. That's all they're doing. Pushing God, keeping the line right where it belongs.
Sure.
God has a plan. Have faith. That's all it takes. And it'll be it.
Sure, they can trespass me whatever they want. I'm gonna
You will be arrested for trespassing. Do you understand? Sure. Okay. Also, these alleyways. Do you have any business here?
I could have business here.
What's your business?
What's your name?
So this is the thing. These are public, in a lot of cases, public places. They're saying you'd be arrested for trespassing unless you have business here. Yeah, they're all dealing in commercial law, and it's tricky territory. Unless you're actually coming to conduct business. But in this case, this guy's on the public footpath.
What's your business?
For you.
Are you guys here to violate constitutional rights?
Do you want a business card?
That's what they called you for, you know.
Stay back, buddy.
No, you
Stay back, buddy.
Look at this guy. He's within 2 feet.
Stay back, buddy.
Don't put your
do
hand
it.
in my face.
Don't do it, buddy. You're making the biggest mistake of your life.
Do you want a business
You're
card?
gonna be the dumb cop that makes the wrong move.
Do you want a business card with a
Don't
case
make me
number?
report you to OPA.
Do you want a business card with
Don't
a
make
case
me
number?
report you to OPA. Get out of my face now.
You're trespassing from this
Get
building.
out of. I'm not
Do
in
you
their
want
building.
a business card?
I'm on public property.
Do you want a business card?
No, I don't. I don't want your business card. I want
Perfect.
nothing from you.
I'm glad.
I want you to step back.
Sure, you're also being trespassed from this establishment. If you step foot on this property, inside this parking lot, if you go in the front doors, any sort of thing like that, you will be arrested. Do you understand? Do you want a business card? Nope.
Straight
All
bullies.
right, doesn't matter.
Step back.
I will not.
You're too close.
You can step back that way.
No, I'll go this way.
They're the enemies of America right here. Look at this guy trying to block his path, man.
Trying to block my path, huh? That's tyrant stuff. How about not? How about I stand right here? I'm not moving. I won't budge an inch.
You can class that as terrorism. That's interfering with his governing himself. You know, you can't block someone's path. Trespass.
Now you guys want to do the right thing?
SDS.
They called you here to violate our constitutional rights. You know that, right? That's why you're here. Because they wanted constitutional rights violated, and the first person they thought to call was you guys.
These bigger guys aren't stepping up like you. You must have the little man syndrome.
Michael Ferrell, what's your date of birth?
Michael, who?
What's your date of birth?
What is that? What is that? Is that a weapon there? What do you got on you? You armed and dangerous, buddy?
You guys are free to go.
So are you.
Public easement. I'm not going to go anywhere. That's up to you, buddy. He got close to me, so I'm getting close to you.
You can't get close to me.
I'm doing
Two different standards.
I'm doing it. That's
One for men in costumes and one for citizens.
Different standards.
Right.
What's your name? You guys going to any of these businesses? Don't step behind me.
helping you out, buddy.
Look at this. All these cops just watching this guy.
Helping you out, buddy.
What works you need to?
You guys are in violation of 5.001.
So you know, you're free to go anytime.
You're free to go. You are free to go.
You don't know what that is, do you?
Nope.
It's your ethical policing manual.
You're in breach of the law.
Nope, he said.
I said, okay. Lose your job, buddy.
You said nope. You said you don't know what it is. You don't know your own ethical policing manual. That's what you just said.
I don't know everything. That's
I would
true.
encourage you.
Yeah, you didn't even know what it was.
Don't move.
And you act like it.
If you do, I will report you to OPA. Put the glasses off. Hide your face.
Look at this, man.
You can't be trespassing in the parking lot, you idiot. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You don't know the law.
Yeah, you're dumb, bro. You'll do nothing but stand here.
You need to train this guy, okay? You need to.
Who's in charge right here?
Train this guy.
Is there a sergeant
Let
here?
This guy act tough and get
There's
in
not?
his face.
Let's get a supervisor.
Because you look like you're in
I
charge.
want to make an allegation
They are trained. These are well-trained animals.
of bias-based policing. Please call supervisor now.
Wearing their muzzles now.
I'll happily do it.
Who's in charge here?
There's nobody in charge.
This guy needs to be caught. Not to get
Hurry up.
not to
We need to get this documented.
retrain this guy, not to get in people's faces, especially when there's an epidemic. He wasn't 6 feet.
2 damage responders.
He wasn't 6 feet from me, so I don't know if he's sick. I don't know that. Show me paperwork that says that.
That would be violation.
Why would you get close to me if I don't know you're sick? No, he was intimidating. He was trying to intimidate us. It's on. Look, how many people are there? Tell me how many people are there.
Yeah, you got hundreds of people watching you live on the internet.
Fine. Well, you will care when they call.
Obviously not.
and they call
Obviously not.
Well, we work at the West.
What's that?
Where can I
What's the number?
What's the phone number?
Or the recorded
Well, I think,
Guys,
yeah, you can find it on YouTube. Or you could contact OPA and we'll give them a copy.
feel free to call, guys.
That's a bigger process than what it is.
It's not a big process. You just email it to them, bro.
I'm documenting.
It's an email.
Oh, this guy's clapping his hands so nervous. He's like, how do we get hold of the footage? What YouTube channel do we... How do we get this guy's information? What's his channel? He doesn't stop clapping his hands for a long time.
This is my business, really. I really don't.
Send an email.
Yeah,
Right.
having a social conversation.
Well, now you want to talk. After he got in my face, now you want to talk, right? So you're trying to play the good. He's the bad guy. You're the good guy now, right? So why would you let that guy?
Thank you very much for calling him.
You heard what he said?
What's that?
You said you heard what he said?
He said a sergeant's en route.
Yeah. Just make sure you heard it.
Yeah. I'm the one who requested it. These are the ladies that called here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 officers, 2 security guards. Did you know you were called here to violate constitutional rights? That's the reason they called you. Did you know that? They didn't call you for trespassing. They didn't call you to get us off their property, which is county property, right? They called you to violate constitutional rights. They wanted civil rights violated, and you're the first people they thought to call. Nothing.
Well, that's the thing. We're not jamming cameras in
I
faces.
understand that. I understand that. But that's the concern, right? That's what they're just not their patients. Obviously, the people coming in here have enough to worry about, right? They're obviously very concerned.
And I understand where you're coming from, but like I said, I've kept my distance. They approached me.
Yeah, we were actually standing right here against the wall, and they approached us within like 10 seconds of us getting here.
Yeah, I thought this was an excellent video, OSHA, because I thought the way they spoke, the way they handled themselves was just something that we could all learn from, you know?
And that's the thing. There is no privacy in public.
J Knight.
You have to create it.
That's why we can
This is,
record whatever we want while we're out in public and stuff like that.
If you
I
want
get that. I
him,
understand that. I'm not arguing the
Vigrillo.
actual close. Not really.
If you want to encourage them,
Yeah, I'm gonna play most of this until not till the full end, but you can come back in about 10 minutes, it'll be done.
So, person here in the window.
no, if I think you've got hidden weapons, I can prison you. You have hidden weapons? Where do you have hidden weapons?
Useless. Pretty good.
Look at that.
You step on that, I'm gonna arrest you.
If I step on this crack right here?
If you step on that parking lot, you've been trespassing.
You got like a little pistol in there?
No.
A little revolver in there? You're smiling. You like
He's still clapping his hands. 5 minutes later, he has no clue what to do. So uncomfortable. No power.
smile, right?
I do. I have a good smile.
Yeah.
I just picture that I have to wear this mask.
Take it off. Take it off, man. Let the people see your face. Show the world your face.
I'd rather stay healthy.
We want people watching. Only climbing, buddy.
Can I read the comments? 135?
Can I read the comments? Hey, wait for it. It gets better.
You guys better behave. You better behave.
Boss, being put on blast in the city of Seattle like a police officer is a common occurrence, man. We deal with it every day. It's nothing new. I've been doing this for 12 years.
Right, but just because you guys have guns doesn't mean we're scared of you. You understand?
You don't have to be scared of us. We're not trying to scare people.
Well, you are. You're
All the people I'm trying to scare
You're
are the people
surrounding
trying to
us.
kill
You're
people.
surrounding us. Like, she's keeping her distance. She's smart. Is she a veteran? She must be smart.
This guy was all right with me. It's this guy right here, the runt. It's always the runt.
Yeah, the run. It's always the run.
You guys are free to walk that way.
You're free to suck my dick.
See, man, that's kind of what we're talking about.
You're free.
He is. Nobody's saying and slinging insults towards you guys. Nobody.
You wouldn't do shit without that costume on.
You wouldn't?
You wouldn't.
Big tough guy with a badge.
Dudes with costumes threatening law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, I call mask wearers plant pots because they must think they're plants to be inhaling this much CO2.
You got a desecrated American flag on your chest.
Actually, I like how you have a regular American flag right there. That's actually good.
Yeah, I like that.
People like that.
Regular?
People like that.
Oh.
I'm gonna go talk to this guy. So
Yeah, this is the sergeant.
yeah.
Just do me a solid.
Officer Colfin.
Just walk into their parking lot. They can't walk there.
There you go.
Oh, isn't that so sweet? Playing chess games. You know, two squares back.
That's the sergeant. He'll come talk to you about the bias complaint you want to make. Just give him a second to talk to him.
Thanks for not walking through you.
Direction, and he's complied.
Yeah, gentlemen.
Against
John, thank you.
Well,
How you doing, Sarge?
is he wants to make a bias complaint, like report a crime?
No, I want to make a complaint in...
I'm Sergeant Barnes.
How you doing?
You're being audio video recorded. What's your complaint, sir?
I wanted to make a complaint according to 5.140 of the Seattle Police Department Manual for bias-based policing. It's supposed to document all allegations
What is
of police work that includes bias.
What was bias?
he struggles to articulate what threat happened here. But I'm sure if he had a chance to do it again, he'd do it better.
Where do we engage into bias?
Well, you were actually called here to violate constitutional rights. And then...
That's not what I'm asking you. What police action did we take that has been outside of our bias-based policing policy?
Sure, yeah, you actually treated us differently. You actually threatened us, and...
we threatened you. How did we threaten you?
Oh, you threatened us with arrest. You threatened to put us in a cage.
It's a threat.
It is, yeah, because you threatened us specifically because we're exercising constitutional rights.
That is not a threat.
It is. It is.
By whose law?
By whose law? We're in the United States.
Do you understand what the legal definition of a threat is?
What is it?
In the city of Seattle?
What?
Can anybody tell him what the harassment
Well, I think he's struggling himself with the definition of a threat.
statute is?
Why don't you tell us?
SMC, well actually it's not, it's an RCW now, right? What's the RCW now?
The SMCs are based off of RC.
Your personal safety.
Right.
Yeah, but exactly.
With intent.
By telling you that we're going to make an arrest is not a threat, okay? Are they committing any crimes right now?
No.
Then why are we here? You want to, if you want to...
That's exactly right. You're here because these people behind you called you because they wanted our constitutional rights violated.
Well, they don't want you on your property, and they have that right.
Well,
Yes, Glenn, kidnapping is a threat. And I'm sure that's classed as terrorism, trespass.
that's not what they called you for. They didn't call you because we were on their property.
If you go
They
back,
called because we were recording in
here's the
public.
bottom line. If you step on the property again, you'll be arrested. Boom. That's it.
But you're on the
Done.
property, and you have no right here.
I have the right because they've allowed me to be here.
You're not a patient. You don't have a right. You're not a patient. You don't have a right to be here.
We're done here. Don't step on this property again. You'll be arrested. You don't have a valid bias complaint, so I have nothing more to talk to you
Name
about.
and badge number. Name and badge number.
I already told you my name. My badge was 5670, and the best part about it is, now that you've recorded it, I don't have to ever tell you again.
Well, actually, you're on live stream.
All right, get the out of here then. Dismissed, pigs. And you guys are stuck with us for a hell of a long time now.
Yeah, that's my kind of channel, I'm telling you.
All these people desperate to violate civil rights. Black man, approached by an Indian man, desperate to violate civil rights. Desperate to violate civil rights. My point is your ancestors are spinning in their graves.
Okay, he went a bit over the top with the ancestors bit, but hey.
My ancestors are what?
Spinning in their graves.
So it's not worth it.
Triggered! Trey Songz got triggered right here. Come on, Trey. What you gonna do? What's the dance? Do the moonwalk.
Scumbag.
Moonwalk your ass back to the tent, to the COVID tent with your bucket face buddies.
Bro.
Hey, bro.
Spinning in their graves.
It's not necessary.
Spinning. They're spinning.
Come on, Biggie. Come on, Biggie. Move your ass.
Hasta la vista. That's
On and on and on and.
Surveyor Raw.
What's up, guys? Just getting a little pissed off.
Yep.
I'll try to take it down.
You're good. You're good.
These guys are idiots.
Yeah, they are.
I guess we were wrong when we came up.
Oh, we were wrong. We were wrong. This was a good spot, man.
So for everyone watching this live stream, we walked up and we stood against the wall right here. You want to show where we were standing?
Yep.
Way against this wall, the furthest away we could be. We planned to just stay here for a couple minutes and document what happened in this testing site. We were immediately approached this guy, big guy over here, the big security guard, and he was real nice at first. Then these ladies came out. I guess they called the police. The police surrounded us. They surrounded Glenn especially. They tried to block his path. They were rude. They were unprofessional.
They tried to flank us. They tried to do a lot of crazy stuff, guys. These cops are definitely trying to like intimidate us.
You see, these cops will use any reason to violate civil rights. I'm just going to document how long you guys are willing to.
I just think it's great to all my British buddies. I think it's great that Americans can do this and completely humiliate the pigs for violating constitutional rights. I think I'm gonna show something on the other hand where people are struggling to even get assault charges or GBH charges dealt with in the UK. And in America, they've got guns. I mean, yeah, okay, we've got some officers that have guns, but almost every officer has a gat in the UK. So these guys, you know,
stand here.
Think about it for a second, guys in the UK that don't know your laws or how to speak to officers.
We're just waiting for them to come back. Good, take off. Have a good one.
Suck. You.
That was
all these cops are gonna drive away in shame. Get in your car and leave.
I will.
Hurry up.
Hurry up now.
Got here, Runt. Drive away. What?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend speaking to officers like this unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah, show respect. Just forget the uniform. Just show respect as you would any other man in life. But these guys obviously don't deserve any respect whatsoever.
Crimes are they committing? Your sergeant said. Oh, none. We're just here to intimidate.
Have a good one, Dave.
Learn the law and respect it. Scumbags. Traitors to the United States.
What?
Traitors to the United States.
What?
Enemies of America.
What? What?
You're so inauthentic, man.
Yeah. Shout out to the people in the chat anyway. I just thought I'd take a second. Shout out JT33. Everyone in the chat, go subscribe to JT33. I know you can't click people's names in the chat and go and sub to them, but JT33 dropping a lot of music with PGA, some cool beats, some amazing lyrical content. So type his name in the YouTube and go and sub. Some really cool stuff going down there. Sorry, I'm just going through the chat now. Shout out to JJ, Jenna Lovecraft Reeves, Empress, Infinite. We should all sub to each other, by the way. So yeah, that's something Tim Truth is an advocate of. Let's all sub to each other. Shout out to Huey P Nuisance on your mad streams as usual. I see you doing your thing. I don't have time for them long beef streams. But anyway, back to this.
Bye.
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 Your voice get higher, bitch.
Bye.
That didn't work out too well.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you?
All that.
She got in my face, then I moved back, and she moved closer, and I moved back again, and she stuck her phone with and they just called the cops on us.
Oh yeah.
They responded like six deep.
6 cops around us, man. Like they tried to intimidate us, like flank us and stuff.
Yeah, they do. We do things like that here.
What kind of drink is that? It looks good.
Arizona tea.
Oh.
So.
Wow, so the guy who emailed me was right.
Oh, he was definitely right. 100% right. Hopefully these guys don't spit at us. Don't piss me off.
So for everyone watching the live stream, somebody sent me an email and they said there was aggressive nurses and guards out here at this clinic. And so we kind of rolled up here and we saw, oh, it looks like nothing's here, you know.
Right.
So we just decided we're just going to film for just a minute. And man, that's all it took. He was right. I thought he was wrong.
He was right.
He was right. And you know, that's not an activist or an auditor. That's just a citizen who was mistreated here by these people. for whatever reason, you know, and decided to email and reach out over the internet to say, hey, man, they're mistreating people over here. And this was just yesterday.
Oh, wow, that quick?
Yeah.
Looks can be deceiving, man, and that definitely changed, you know.
So here it is.
Is this the guy just put on?
It's public health.
Public Health, Seattle and King County, Downtown Public Health Center.
Seattle, King County, Downtown Public Health Center.
Well, isn't that interesting? They got a tip-off, and it was consistent with what the information that they were given. So, next one I wanted to look at is definitely the UK. Not this one, this one. This is a channel called Crimebodge. I will put the link in the chat. For the UK guys, subscribe. He's got a case ongoing at the moment. I'm probably gonna play two of his videos. This one is most important regarding coronavirus information. I think he does most of it for me, but he's a really good channel. He helps people with problems, assault problems, kidnapping issues with officers that have taken common law, well, just taken their own orders too far. And basically, I would like to support him in his current case of assault and GBH by a police officer, which he's actually struggling to go through with at the moment. But we'll get to that in a minute. Oh yeah.
A lot of people have emailed me asking if I'll make a video about the laws surrounding the lockdown. But talking about the police's predictably ruinous mishandling of the situation and the enthusiasm they've shown for oppressing and criminalising the public on an unprecedented scale depresses me greatly. It was obvious to everyone, except the government of course, that the police would be dizzy with excitement at being gifted with powers that would essentially allow them to take dominion of the streets and play whack-a-mole with any members of the public who dare to poke their head out from the confines of their domestic prison. Better still, the police get to make criminals out of thousands of innocent people as they improvise laws on the spot and hand out bogus penalty notices by the truckload. In so doing, they've brazenly misappropriated the law set out in the coronavirus regulations and turned it into a blank checkbook of oppression. Nothing new here, as I've railed repeatedly about the police's reckless ignorance of the laws that govern us and their passion for prosecuting anyone that offends them personally. But who has interceded to prevent this vile abuse of the law? Well, nobody, of course, despite them doing it directly under the noses of Parliament and the scrutiny of the media, who've compiled a vast catalogue of the police's oppression and stupidity as they continue unabated in their mission of terrorising the public. The courts also are stuffed to bursting with the spoils of quarantine, pocketing the ill-gotten gains of the police's wrongly designated fines. But as usual, nobody in power dares to condemn the police out of hand, possibly for fear of admitting that law and order in this country is a tyranny governed by nobody and answerable only to itself. Well, if the police want to take the war to the public, then it's time to take it right back to them. In this video, I'm going to suggest that everyone who's received a penalty notice from the police under coronavirus legislation refuses to pay it. And not
Okay, let me just stop there 1 second. I just wanted to take a quick look at the chat. Glenn. Yeah, I don't care if I don't know if I could respect cops. They kill people and regularly get away with it. No, I hear what you're saying there, but I mean, cops as a title, don't respect them. Just respect another man's space and all of that, you know, and the right to self-govern and do whatever. They're not every peace officer or not every man that in a uniform is out to get you. I think for the most part they're just ignorant. They're made ignorant to the laws. to cover up for insurance companies and banks and whatnot.
Not just because of the likelihood that the police attempted to place a limit on your freedoms that was absent from the legislation, but due to the fact that the legislation itself is unlawful and represents the worst affront to the public's civil rights in living memory. And don't take my word for it, a wide variety of judges, QCs, barristers and legal academics have condemned the legislation as being ultra vires, that is, exceeding the powers granted to government. Whether or not enforced quarantine of the entire populace is right isn't the question I'm asking. It's whether or not it's lawful. So let's take a look. The coronavirus regulations are not primary legislation. They are subordinate legislation which allowed them to be passed in an emergency and without the assent of Parliament. The regulations were drafted within a single day and rushed into force. Meanwhile, the Coronavirus Act 2020, which is primary legislation, was all of a day behind it. Had any of the measures contained in the regulations been contained within this Act, then it would be hard to challenge their authority. But as it stands, the regulations far exceed the parent Act they draw their powers from, the Public Health Control of Disease Act 1984. The Public Health Act was enacted to allow the government emergency powers to deal with the eventuality of an epidemic, but nothing within that act suggested anything like we see being enforced in the current regulations. In fact, the Public Health Act makes it clear that there is no power to impose detention, isolation or quarantine upon any person except in the context of international travel. To make matters worse, the government have repeatedly adjusted, updated and contradicted their own advice as to what the public should or shouldn't do during this lockdown. And it's this government advice that the police have repeatedly attempted to enforce as law. Government advice is not law, but this is not helped by the vague and often contradicting measures set out in the regulations. But to make it clear, the police have no powers to detain you on the street or in your vehicle for questioning and insist you tell them where you're going and what you're doing, and your refusal to answer such questions cannot be used to criminalise you. They have no powers to stop individuals and demand proof of identity, nor do they have any powers to search shopping bags or patrol supermarkets. Purchasing of non-essential items is not a criminal offence. It's entirely up to the shopper to decide what an essential item is. This is quarantine, not a ration. But it's typical of the police to take a high-handed approach to what is all of our misfortune and then to treat the public as the enemy. By their actions, they have deliberately instilled fear into the public that if they so much as step foot out of their house, they will be prosecuted. And that constitutes a false imprisonment of an entire nation. Not only has the government exceeded the provisions of the Public Health Act and suspended all of our civil rights, in my opinion, it's created a false premise for doing so: the saving of the NHS. Our entire economy has been sacrificed, millions of jobs threatened, your freedoms dissolved, and martial law declared at the behest of the overbearing police, just so that the government can protect its interests in an organisation owned entirely by the government. Not to diminish the importance of any care worker in the NHS, it's fair to say that the one thing that doesn't threaten the NHS is potential bankruptcy, unlike 99% of the private businesses that have been illegally prevented from trading and who've had to suffer unimaginable loss as a sacrifice to the almighty NHS. Incidentally, the NHS is the same public body that's been helping to justify this quarantine by bolstering the number of deaths due to coronavirus. Each day the corona death toll is broadcast to us from government HQ as a means to justify our continued imprisonment. Rather than lead us to question if we're being lied to, or to conclude that if the numbers are so high, the lockdown clearly isn't working, we are instead invited to infer that the reason these people contracted and died from the coronavirus is because they didn't do what our beloved great leader, or Hal our leader, has told us we must do: stay indoors. But what the government hasn't disclosed is that nursing staff are being told to register as many deaths as possible, even when it's clear the person was not infected. people dying of heart attacks, strokes, or even old age are having their death certificates signed off with death by coronavirus. This is fraud on a massive scale, no doubt to justify the already criminal actions of Boris Johnson and his beloved comrades at the Ministry of Fiction. Have you ever wondered what a totalitarian government and police state would look like? Well, you're in one, regardless of how temporary you think it might be. And if you want a taste of what the law looks like when it's placed in the hands of those above it, you only need to compare the actions of the police against the coronavirus regulations and then compare the coronavirus regulations against its parent act, the Public Health Control of Disease Act. These are laws that have dispensed with your fundamental human rights wholesale, rights designed to protect you from the tyranny of lawless governments and witless police officers who are always willing to serve the interests of government, regardless of how misguided, dishonest, or downright criminal they are. What makes it all the more flagrant is that Boris Johnson and his ministers openly admitted that they deliberately exaggerated the threat of coronavirus as a means of ensuring the regulations were passed. The Secretary of State for Health and Social Care had this to say about the enforcement of the regulations. In accordance with Regulation 3, the Secretary of State declares that the incidence or transmission of novel coronavirus constitutes a serious and imminent threat to public health, and the measures outlined in these regulations are considered as an effective means of delaying or preventing further transmission of the virus. Later on, the UK Chief Medical Officer stated that, but the risk to individuals remains low. And the Department of Health admitted that the announcement of a serious and imminent threat was a legal term, as part of changes to make it easier for health professionals to do their job. In other words, ministers knew the regulations would not be passed if they didn't greatly exaggerate the risk to the public. This admission in itself would be enough to nullify the regulations, because laws passed in bad faith would be considered ultra-virus. The police have added further insult to injury by fining people for non-existent offences, simply for people being outdoors, and those subject to them have strong grounds to contest the issuing of those fines. The only means of challenging a fixed penalty notice is in the magistrates' court. It is an utterly futile endeavour to argue against the issue of a penalty notice with a police service droid, a machine that is entirely absent of empathy, logic and fairness. But it is your public duty to challenge the lawfulness of the fine in the magistrates' court, and it's the duty of the court to consider your defence. In every instance of a coronavirus penalty notice being issued, irrespective of the circumstances under which it was issued, your defence in court should be the same. Tell the magistrates or judge at your first hearing that you believe the fine was issued ultra-virus. That is a totally legitimate defence endorsed in law under Boddington v British Transport Police, whereby the court acknowledged that a defendant may defend himself against criminal proceedings by pointing out the unlawfulness of subordinate legislation that created the offence they are charged with. In so doing, the court will have to stay the proceedings until a decision has been made by a superior court as to whether or not the legislation is ultra-virus. It's beyond the powers of a lower court to make such a decision. So if you find yourself stood before a hateful district judge who refuses to accept your defence or obstructs it in some way, as they commonly do in magistrates' court, you have an automatic right of appeal to the Crown Court against conviction. In Crown Court, all the proceedings are recorded, which places a duty of care upon the bench, which is entirely absent from the Wild West of the Magistrates' Court. If you have any doubts or concerns, then email me and I'll do my best to compile an instruction list of what you should do or say. Now bear in mind that in the unlikely event that the police issued with a penalty notice in line with the coronavirus regulations and you have no genuine defence, then your only hope of being acquitted is that somebody brings a judicial review against the regulations and the administrative court declares them as ultra-virus. If so, then every single fine issued against the regulations will cease to have any effect, and thousands of lawsuits could potentially be brought against the police service as a result. But it remains to be seen how the higher courts will decide the matter. If the magistrates' court had any sense, then they would suspend all coronavirus cases until judicial review had been completed. But just remember that there is never any certainty with litigation, and it's always possible that the judges might have a very liberal attitude toward the lawfulness of these regulations. But if nobody bothers to challenge these fines in court, then nothing will change, and once again the police will be off the hook. But it only takes one person to succeed, and it will open the floodgates for all the others.
Ultra virus. Beyond the powers.
Government. Whether or not enforced as being ultra virus, that is exceeding the powers granted to government.
There you go. Ultra virus. Things are exceeded. Okay. I'm going to stay on this guy's channel for one more video. And it's for this one here. I am prosecuting a police officer.
This is PC Mark Knights of Derbyshire Constabulary. On the 21st of November 2019, he was attending a non-emergency incident in Ambergate in Derby. The police's presence had already halted traffic and Knights found it difficult to get through. So he asked the driver of the vehicle ahead to pull to one side. The driver said he was unable to and suggested that if the officer waited, he'd be able to move forward with everyone else. Knights then began taking pictures of the driver's vehicle. So the driver got out and took pictures of PC Knights, this being one of them. The driver then got back into his vehicle. As he pulled away, PC Knights leant toward the window and shouted out, "Fat cunt," at the driver. The driver stopped his vehicle and got out. He approached PC Knights and asked him to repeat what he just said. PC Knights responded by headbutting the driver in the face. It is alleged that he headbutted him so hard that the driver's teeth cut a gash into the officer's forehead that bled profusely. The driver was then thrown to the floor, cuffed, then placed in the back of a police van. A short while later, PC Mark Knight's colleagues apologised for what had happened and released him. The driver was never accused of, arrested or charged with any offence. PC Mark Knights, on the other hand, was accused of committing a violent and unprovoked assault. The driver complained to the Professional Standards Department of Derbyshire Police. They did nothing, so the driver found me instead. He asked what could be done. It was clear to me that simply suing Derbyshire Constabulary would not be enough. This was the first time I'd come across an incident that would be more suitable for the criminal courts. So on the basis that the driver had 3 independent witnesses willing to corroborate his account, I agreed to pursue a private prosecution against PC Mark Knights. So the first thing I did was draft an application for prosecution and send it to Derbyshire Magistrates Court. I set the charges at common assault under Section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act and corrupt or other improper exercise of police powers and privileges under Section 26 of the Criminal Justice and Courts Act. The latter being an indictable offence tried in Crown Court with a maximum sentence of 14 years in jail. I then waited for the court to process the application. When Derbyshire Police got wind of the prosecution, they finally made the effort to contact the victim after 2 weeks. They made sympathetic noises and told him a full investigation would be undertaken. Who did the police invite to investigate the matter? None other than an incompetent police civilian, Richard Layton. From the outset, it was clear that Layton was conducting an entirely exculpatory and defective investigation as a means to ensure Mark Knights was never charged. To make matters worse, it turned out that PC Mark Knight's wife also worked for Derbyshire Constabulary in the Professional Standards Department, the department tasked with handling the complaint, a fact that was never disclosed to the victim as he had to find it out for himself. Due to these obvious conflicts of interests and the severity of the allegations, Derbyshire Police are statutorily bound to refer the investigation to the IOPC. Unsurprisingly, they never bothered, so I referred it to the IOPC on their behalf. The IOPC ignored my communication and failed to intervene. So I contacted the Derbyshire Police and Crime Commissioner, Hardy Dinsder, who, as of recent changes in police complaints process, has authority to take control of certain complaints. I invited him to do so. He had absolutely no idea what I was talking about, didn't know such legislation existed, and responded with patronising cut and paste responses that could have been authored by a 5-year-old. I also contacted the MP of the district the event had occurred in, Nigel Mills, to ask him, among other things, if the offending officer had been placed on restrictive duties. Nigel Mills never bothered to respond. In fact, every institution whose job it was to protect us from potentially dangerous police officers expressed not the least concern in what was happening. The police conducting a defective investigation against one of their own is standard evasion tactics and came as no surprise. If a police officer commits an unprovoked assault or unlawful arrest against a member of the public who then complains, the police will always close ranks and do whatever they can to save their colleagues. It's in their blood. The Blue Code of Silence, it's called. The protection of the police always comes before the protection of the public, and this was no exception. Richard Layton's aim, as with all police...
I'll stop there to make one point about Carl Lentz, which is going to be the next video, which for some reason relates to all of this. I can't remember how, but I'll remember when I play it. But Carl Lentz will say a claim, a complaint, which he just stated, a complaint is not going to get you anywhere. You can complain all you want, but what you need in court is a claim, a proper claim, and know how to make a proper claim. That's what Carl Lentz talks about, and he refers to a proper claim being only being able to be made by handwriting, because if a claim could be done by printing off a bunch of copies, then we'd have a bunch of fraud insurance claims on our hands.
Police investigators was to stretch out the investigation as long as possible so that it would exceed the 6-month time limit for common assault. That way the investigator can blame the courts and the CPS. Unfortunately for Layton, he couldn't pull that particular rabbit out of the hat because my application for summons had preempted him. On the 10th of February, he had to come to court along with PC Mark Knight's and Knight's solicitor and PC Mark Knight's wife. I came along with the victim, 2 witnesses and a journalist from the Derby Telegraph. Now here's the thing. If you were to headbutt a police officer, I could guarantee you 2 things would happen. 1, you'd be arrested and thrown into a cell within minutes. 2, you'd be up before the magistrates the following day and potentially placed on remand until the trial date. The police, as criminals, are excluded from that process entirely, and they are instead gifted a team of public servants whose job it is to ensure that prosecution never goes ahead. The CPS are part of that team, as they have been complicit in ensuring that PC Knights is not prosecuted and that public safety takes second place to saving a police officer's arse. When the police charge someone, it's always taken at face value by the courts that the prosecution has merit. This is how they're able to drag people through the courts again and again on malicious public order charges. A private prosecution is treated very differently. Rather than issue the summons, the judge first conducts what can only be described as a Newton hearing, a mini trial as it were, to determine whether or not to issue a summons. Now, I was never notified that such a hearing would take place, but I was more than prepared for it, having read the entirety of the criminal procedure rules. But what I was not prepared for was the unfairness of it all, such as the victim being placed on oath and questioned determinedly, while the police investigator was excused from oath and given the benefit of the doubt on everything he said.
Wow.
Also, when the victim pointed out to the judge that the officer's wife worked in the professional standards of Derbyshire Police, he was stopped from speaking on the basis that he was making unfounded and serious allegations. This, despite the fact that she was sat at the back of the courtroom and the statement was entirely true. I informed the judge that the lead investigator had conducted a deliberately defective investigation and he'd failed to notify the IOPC, despite his obligations to do so. I also had to repeatedly remind the judge that I had a right under Section 6 of the Prosecution of Offences Act to bring a private prosecution, and that nothing within that gave the CPS the right to the first crack of the whip. Despite this, the matter was adjourned until the 2nd of April, allegedly so that Leighton could conclude his already well-sabotaged investigation. An investigation whereby he had deliberately excluded the body-worn video captured by one of the officers of the incident, and he'd refused to show it to the victim. He'd also refused to contact the 3 independent witnesses that the victim had gathered the details of at the scene. Leighton gathered as little proof as he could, so that he could then submit an insubstantial file to the CPS and then blame them when they failed to prosecute. The CPS are equally as complicit. They know that police civilian staff should not be helming a criminal investigation against a potentially violent police officer, but they too are willing to look the other way. They regard the police as brothers in arms, a united front of stoking fear into the hearts and minds of the public that any divergence from the will of the state will not be tolerated. The CPS don't want to prosecute a police officer any more than the police themselves do, and they will accept the police's deliberately sabotaged investigation without question. That is precisely what happened, because at the end of March, Richard Leighton informed the victim that the CPS would not be bringing any prosecution. PC Mark Knights was, therefore, off the hook. Well, not quite, because now the ball had returned to my court, and the day before the second hearing, I wrote to the court and informed them that I would not be in attendance. There was no need, especially in the middle of an epidemic. In any event, the judge had admitted at the first hearing that a prima facie case had been made that the criminal summons should be issued, but that the police investigators should be given the opportunity to have the first crack at prosecution. Now that had passed, there was no reason that a summons shouldn't be issued, and my private prosecution against PC Mark Knight should be allowed to go ahead. Fortunately, the court agreed, and as a result, a summons was issued and a pre-trial date set. So, now I can proceed as intended and prosecute this officer in criminal court for the serious allegations made against him. Now, I'm not under any illusions about the difficulty ahead. The CPS will probably take over the case at the first opportunity they get, simply so that they can bury it. Certainly in cases where nobody will know it ever happened. The CPS should be putting public safety first above their allegiance to the police. But I've got little faith in the CPS, especially as recently, just like the police, they've used the coronavirus as yet another reason to stoke fear and control into the public, despite it being a misfortune to all of us. I'm up against multiple agencies, all of whom are determined to sweep this incident under the carpet, alongside the mountain of others they've swept away over the years. I'm bearing all the costs myself, and my entire prosecution team consists solely of myself and the victim. I'm extremely wary of using this channel as a means to obtain crowdfunding, but this is one of those rare cases where I feel it might be excused. So I'd ask in all sincerity, if you believe this prosecution to be as necessary and vital as I do, then I'd appreciate any donation you'd be willing to make to assist it. I shouldn't act surprised that not a single agency I've turned to has expressed the least interest or concern in this matter. It's obvious they serve the interests of the status quo, and not the interests of the public. If you want to get something done properly in this country, then do it yourself, including bringing private prosecutions against those who think themselves to be above the law. The police are not exempt from prosecution, especially for violent assaults against members of the public. So please help me send that message clear and loud to every police officer and police civilian staff in Britain. You are no longer guaranteed immunity from prosecution. If the state won't protect us from the criminality of the police, then it falls upon the public to do it for them.
God you asked me that question, because I hear all these people saying, oh, well, they have no facts, they have no facts, they have no facts. Never, never argue the facts. When a policeman wants to...
My bad. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying to subscribe to the, to Crimebodge channel and to please support that man, because this is a serious case. Damn, I've been talking for about a minute and a half. A serious case that I think needs to be dealt with. I was just referring to the previous video that I showed of the guys in Seattle with those cops, and I was saying, look how they made those cops run with their tails between their legs, like JT said. And yet in the UK, this is the best we've got as far as people dealing with brutal cops. It was a headbutt, not as bad as some of the cases in the USA, but still how they're trying to sweep it under the carpet is just absolute insanity. And I was just saying, this next video is one by Carl Lentz, and it applies to, I guess, claims that you might want to make in court. He's talking to a lady regarding one of her issues. He gives legal advice, and he's referring to common law versus code, and specifically referring to the code law in British Parliament and legislation. It's weird having to repeat myself, but anyway.
On the books that says this and that, but you still believe it's a false claim. You don't have to believe in Santa. You don't have to believe whatever they want to believe. You have your right to believe whatever you want. And this is what always gets people in trouble all the time. Thank God you asked me that question, because I hear all these people saying, oh, well, they have no facts, they have no facts, they have no facts. Never, never argue the facts. When a policeman wants to say I did 900 miles an hour backwards down the street, on my roof, tires squealing, okay, I believe you. You have the right to believe whatever you want. Those are your beliefs. Now, I have the right to believe that unless there's an injured party, you have no case. And I actually won. I was trying to find that case number so I could
They're saying don't dispute the facts, because everyone in court has the right to their belief. And I think that's one of the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, being three different types of ways of bending what is true, or telling a lie. Telling a lie by not giving all the information required, telling a lie by honestly saying that you believe it. So evidence can be messed with and all of this. So listen to what he says. So the officer believes something.
What you want. Those are your beliefs. Now, I have the right to believe that unless there's an injured party, you have no case. And I actually won. I was trying to find that case number so I could give it to you guys. It was a Virginia case. And the judge actually was going to make me lose. And he was actually going to fine for the police.
It would be nice if we had that case. No.
He was going to fine for the deputy sheriff. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. What does the law say, sir? And he said, what law? I said, what law? Your law. And he started to read the law. Because I said I wanted to hand him the law, but he had a laptop on his desk, so he flipped it open. He says the Virginia Code, like 16.1363. What we're here today for? Me driving in reverse. What does it say? And he says, well, it's illegal to drive in the Commonwealth of Virginia in reverse. He says it's a first offense, it's a $50 fine, 1 point off your license. Second offense, it's a $100 fine, and 3 points on your license. Third time is $500 fine and a suspension of a license for a year. I said, oh, now what does the law say? He said, that is the law. I said, sir, read the footnote. What does the footnote say? He read the footnote. He says, it's lawful to drive in reverse in the Commonwealth if, and then he goes, blah, 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 blah. Huh. Case dismissed. I said, no, it's discharged, but I'm not going to get into semantics now. I got things to do. I said, this thing could have been settled weeks ago when I presented the bill back, the summons back, the ticket back to the prosecuting attorney, but he said, he just laughed at me, and he said, the law says that you can't do it. I said, no. What the judge first read was, it's illegal to drive in reverse. What did the Code of Virginia of 1950 say? in the footnotes that it's lawful to drive as long as I do not cause an injury or damage to man or property. There you go. I said it's on the footnote of every damn driving violation in your book. So I said it was so funny, man, because the prosecuting attorney, his last name was I don't remember his name, Dove, a pigeon. It was a silly name. But I said I'm going home. So it's so funny when I looked at all the state troopers sitting there with their little nice hats on their laps. I said to them, I said, you know what, sirs? I said, if my truck caught on fire, you'd be the first ones to pull me out. God bless you. I love you all. I said, but you know, every time you interfere with a man's right to travel, you're breaking the law. It might be legal what you're doing, but it's unlawful what you're doing. So I said, goodbye, folks. So I left the courthouse, and the deputy ran out and said, I've never lost. He said, I'm the traffic code enforcement officer of the county. I teach all the recruits. How did you beat me? I said, because the judge read the law. She said, what law? I said, you read it. I said, I tried to give you the paper in court, and you laughed at me. You wouldn't read the law. I said, so you read it. I said, oh, while we're standing out here, let me give you notice. The next time I come through this county doing 90 miles an hour, no, 900 miles an hour, and I'm doing it in reverse, and I'm reckless, and I'm going all over the freaking road. I said, if you ever interfere again with my right to travel, I'm going to sue you in your official and individual capacity. I said, I'm going to lean you up in this county for everything you got. I said, so next time you see me come through, you remember my white Camaro? Just wave high. And he's like, how are you going to do it? I said, I know the law. I said, have a good day. So
yeah, so they're interfering with our right to travel. That's how I'd say it applies to everything, you know, where we're walking in public or where we're going in public or anything like that. They can't do that.
I said, I beat you once, I'll beat you again. So he's like, holy cow. So like I said, man, when you know the law and know how to deal with the common law compared to the legal codes, you'll win every time. If we were in Italy or France, or we'd lose. I would lose all the time, like that poor girl who got arrested for killing her roommate in Italy. And it was a big trial. It was like she had lived with a black guy, roommate, whatever. And her parents were like, the court system here in Italy is upside down. My daughter's guilty, and she's got to prove she didn't do it. I said, there you go. You're in a code world. That's the code world. You're guilty, and you got to prove you're innocent. And that's what they're trying to do here in America. They're trying to make this a code society, that we're all guilty, and we've got to prove that we don't owe the tax. No, you've got to prove, this is common law still, and you have to prove I do, because there's an injured man or woman standing on that side saying, if I don't pay this money, they're not going to be able to support their family. So you're going to need to bring the injured party. This is still a common law land, but they're trying to bring the English, European style of court system into this land. And if we're not going to win by voting for Barack, we're not going to win by elections. You know, we're not going to win by getting a good governor who's in the office or a good congressman. The only way we're going to win is by the courts. And the only way we're going to win in the court is if we vote.
Yeah, guilty until proven innocent. This was 2014, and yep, true to form. The coronavirus codes are making people guilty until proven innocent, especially if you can't evidence how the test works. This one, I think OSHA dropped this one. OSHA dropped this one. I think craziness. Police officers were responding to a forgery in progress. Suspect was sitting on top of a blue car and appeared to be under the influence. So apparently this guy died. After this incident.
The officer has his hand on his thigh or in his pocket, his knee on the man's neck, and some of the onlookers describe blood coming from the man's nose as he is saying that I can't breathe multiple times. And of course, you know, as someone who has covered this issue for many years now, it reminds me of the Eric Garner case. When he died on that sidewalk in Staten Island, New York, after or during a confrontation with police, he also said that he could not breathe, and it became a rallying cry for people across the country who wanted to bring an end to police misconduct, if you will, or at least root out police misconduct. And so what you're seeing here in this videotape is in some ways reminiscent of that, and it is
He's clearly
disturbing to
struggling to
watch.
breathe. His lips are all white.
Jeff, what can you tell us about the man who died, in as much as we know what we can know from the police? I mean, did he have a weapon on him? Was he accused, or was he being suspected of committing some kind of a violent crime? What do we know about him?
Well, and that is an important question. And then, of course, when I first saw that video, that's the question I had was he armed? Were police trying to arrest him because of some violent crime? And again, police say that there was a forgery in progress. He was not armed. The African-American man was not armed in this incident. And so it does raise a lot of questions about the tactics used in this case. And clearly the onlookers saw that the man was having trouble breathing, that he was bleeding at least from his nose. And if you watch the video, which goes on for more than 7 minutes, you can see that there is a point where if he was indeed resisting arrest, he stopped. Now, we don't know if he stopped because he was unconscious, but he was clearly not resisting the officer involved. So there are a lot of questions that have to be answered here, and they will. The police department has moved fairly quickly in acknowledging that this case will be investigated. They have called in the FBI to help them investigate this case. The officers have been placed on administrative paid leave. So the investigation is currently underway, and there are a lot of answers that we still don't have. But if you look at the tape, and a lot of people, millions of people across the country have seen it by now, you will see that there's some real questions here about the tactics that the case in Staten Island.
To say.
Yeah, she released a 2-paragraph statement, of course. Klobuchar, the former Democratic presidential candidate, is now endorsed Joe Biden, but she has called.
Anyway, I think ultimately just the reactions of the police are what we need to be concerned about, because they're all, every man's different. Every man's going to react in different scenarios differently. I really think it's a good idea to invest in concealed cameras, or having somewhere where you can put your mobile phone in like a button-up pocket or something, because especially in the UK, having watched a lot of Crimebodge's content regarding police officers, it's mostly when cameras are pulled out to record what's going on when they decide to begin to abuse their powers and go to lengths as far as deleting, going inside the phone to delete any content that's been put on it, which we know is completely unlawful. But they will go to these extents, and Crimebodge documents a lot of this stuff on his channel as well. But I really don't know what to make of this one right now. Stomach hurts. I need water. I need something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like he kind of died on the spot. Or... Yep. Female onlooker repeatedly urges the officers to check the subject's pulse. Not responsive. Wow. Wow. Where is this? Chicago. Crazy. Anyway, moving on swiftly. We'll take a little break and play this tune. If it will play. Yeah, I hope everybody's subbing to each other, because that's the way the network grows. My bad, please. And excuse Nightbot, please. Please excuse Nightbot. Okay. How many I got watching? Got 7 watching. Okay. Well, I could either end the stream now, or I can show you my production process from the beginning. I was inspired by a track, Big Zeke's General. I was inspired by the melody in this, so I made a counter melody to accompany it in a way in a similar key. I think it's in the same key. I can always change the key, but it's a different counter melody. If you're interested, put a one in the chat if you're interested. I'm only gonna do it if I get more than 5. Otherwise, I'm just gonna end the stream now. I could show some other beats as well. What I'm thinking is I could always cut the stream. I might cut out the beat section at the end after, or something like that. Oh, we got a 1. We got yeses, cool. 2. All right, okay. All right. I'm gonna do my best. So I made the melody already because I needed a good starting point. I didn't want to be sat here for hours doing nothing. But if it does go stale, I'm just gonna go and finish my COVID1984 beat, which I think just needs an outro, and finish off Leon Dion's request as well, which is mostly done. Just needs finalizing, balancing, so you can witness all of these processes and stuff. Okay, we got words. Cool, sweet, nice. I'm loving it. So, Ableton. This is the Ableton matrix, and this is where I normally start, because you can put everything anywhere and mix and match it like puzzles, instead of how I traditionally look at music, which is this way. In the arrangement view, long ways. I normally start here, find a nice loop, a nice intro, blah 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 blah, and then when I've got what I want, I'll put it in the arrangement section. But here, this is the master bus, and I wanted to really show how I treat like a static mix and how I treat my master bus before I even start. This is like my ritual. So I'll go to my Ableton stock. If there's any Ableton producers here, like, I would also love for you to recommend any ideas you got. I'm cool with. So yeah, master bus. So what I just dropped on there is a utility. Why I do this is because when we are mixing, we're supposed to mix like really low, and the music's supposed to be really low to preserve the quality, and then you boost it up. But I'm gonna do this, try and do it really fast so that I'm not wasting people's time. So I put it up by 6 dB. So that means whatever instrument I play, it's gonna be super high. in the mix already, so it sounds loud. It kind of sounds mastered already. And what I do, so I try and make my audio touch the top gauge here. This limiter line here. I try and hit 0, so it's really loud with this plus 6 dB thing on. And then when I've finished doing what I'm doing, and I'm happy with everything, I'll take it off, and then my song sits really low at about -6, because I was at +6, and it sits at -6, and then I can do all my mastering and nonsense. So that's the basic drill of it. But then I'll put another one on. This is where Ableton becomes useful, because you can create your own plugins on Ableton. So these are like 2 plugins in a line, and I will group them. This is the coolest thing about Ableton. Control G, select them both, Control G, groups. So now I have 2 utilities, and this is the key. I think even MVP will say in analog music, hearing the mix in mono is how you're gonna hear it best. And mono means all sounds are coming out of both speakers at the same time. So what I do with that, on the second utility, is I'll drag my width down to 0, and that's it. I have a mono plugin with my decibels raised up, and I can switch them both off at the same time. Or if I wanted to, I can just switch off my mono so I can hear full stereo width of what I'm hearing. The benefit of hearing it in mono is that you don't get phasing and stuff like this. Phasing issues is when you have two similar sounds playing at the same time, but they cancel each other out. So you basically won't hear anything, which is not what you want. So I started with this. So it's a really simple, I think that's a little 8-bar thing or a 4-bar thing. And what I want to show you, this is a free VST. Anybody into production, you can use it on pretty much any audio software. It's one of the coolest VSTs I've found, because it does a lot of the work I've been wanting to do for the style of music I make. And I can use this and have as many instruments as I want that are the instruments I like. I really like bells. I like my guitars. They got all kinds of really cool sounds. Your keys, pianos, pads, synths, and you got your heavy trap drum kits. And this is something I've been found to use a lot. I mean, it's not something you want to use all the time, because you don't want every song sounding the same. But everything you need is in this free VST called Iota Mini, and the sounds are so cool, and you can add and take away. So I'll give you a little sample of what it can do. So we're on Eternity. Let's change it up. Let's go to some bells, childish bells. Which audio didn't work? And that's what I need to know. Is it the me? That should be on. That should be on. It was me. Okay. That's another stupid move I did. I don't know why I muted again. But all I did, for those that missed it, was put utilities on in mono. You saw me put a plus 6 dB utility on and a mono utility on, and I dragged the width down so that I could hear my mix in mono and really loud before the master. And then when I take it off, I hear it with stereo width, and I can master it to bring back like proper loudness and dynamic shit. Anyway, back to this. I was playing with this, and I really liked. Ooh, there's some rich sounds in this. Well, it's a bit grating. That's a bit great. Hey, how about Road Trip? It's gonna be between elegance and childish for me. I'm gonna go for childish for now because it just sounds crazy heavy. How's the audio doing? Nope, just voice still. Oh my goodness. Oh, don't know. Audio. It shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't be that way. Let me see. Any audio coming through? Let me see. If I can see it on here coming through. Yeah, you're correct. No audio coming through. It keeps switching off my mic. I think. I'm gonna try and quickly fix this issue. Voice meter VIO3 input. 1 second, and I'll try and sort it. I hope this works. Okay, I figured out. Spacebar mutes my mic. Spacebar mutes my mic. Cool. I didn't know that. I hit spacebar a lot. Can't believe I figured it out. Shouldn't have been that way. Yeah. It's coming to me now, hopefully. Yeah, I think that's due to the voice meter potato. It's not interacting properly with the OBS the way I want it to. But I'll get there. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm thinking. I'm gonna go for something orchestral, maybe. So this is Labs. Labs is also a free VST. I use a lot of free ones. I use some paid ones. Not many. I'm trying to go back to using the textbook Ableton stock plugins because they are the best. So let's go for some strings. What we got? Bird song. Cello. I'm gonna just try the ensemble. Interesting. Okay. It's a bit low, that might be in the bass. No, I definitely want something more stringy. They're not the most harmonic stuff. Wait. We got strings. Oh, yes. Some are not working. Let's try this one. Piccato. Right. I'm just trying to figure out why some of these are not playing. I guess I probably need an update. We'll just try the standard violin. Oh, that's the frozen strings. Interesting. I'm gonna go straight for an 808 because I'm thinking it's very dominant. So if I pull up an 808, I'm gonna have to find something clean. Somatics, free samples. I really like that one. That's a good starting point. So pull up my sampler, drop in the bass I want. Okay, controls. So what I want to do is tune my bass in and get it in the right key because I don't know what key that was in. Maybe C. I think it says C. But We'll find out by putting in a C note on here. Okay, play it on C. And we have to look at the tuner. That's a perfect C. Perfect. I don't need that anymore. So I don't have to alter the root note of the sample. So I can just basically go in. I can change the sample later if I wanted to, but I might have to tune it. So a good key with bass is start high, and you can hear it better with the rest of the tune. So I might want to find that boom. I think it's one of these. I'm not sure. Boom. Maybe that one. So just character. I like to add character early. Like see what I can do to it early on. So I'm adding distortion and drive to it. So I hear different versions. Try hear it by itself. I like that one. Might be like tune back in still. So I just adjusted the tuning a little bit to try and get the tune a little bit more in the middle. Feels like it sits a bit better. I'm gonna get rid of it now. I'm gonna get caught up. Taking out some of those highs. Just want it really low. So now. Got that first one. The first root note, cool. Let's try and see if I can make it more interesting. Think it's that one. I'm gonna put it here. See a double hit what that sounds like. Okay. I'm not sure if that's the right note. We'll play with it. So no EQs necessary. Okay, what am I missing? Sorry, share, put in Discord. Sweet. Sweet. 7-year-old mixes in BandLab. Bandlab, I've not heard of it. I've not heard of that at all. Is that on Android? That can't be on PC. So we'll do a double hit on that last one. my growls out. So we can play around with the octaves. Boom. I think I'm going too low now, but I get giddy. So just trying to design the basic pitch bending of this loop. See what I can do. Just make it slightly interesting. See if I can do that. Something. Be imaginative. Huh? No blend? Okay, maybe it wants it to be earlier. I don't know if let me do it. Well, yeah, I'm not hearing much of a pitch bend there. So it's looking like, in order to pitch bend it properly, if I wanted to, I'd have to go into the sample and change it to pop. No, that would be glide. Should be gliding nicely on this if I... Let's see the bass by itself. Okay, we'll try portmanteau. Okay. So what can I do more? I'm really disappointed with labs like not working seriously. Like this is normally one of the best things since sliced bread. But we're gonna go for another free plugin, which is in instrument section. Go for guitars. I think it's this one. I can never remember. Spicy guitars probably too. Well, this is more bass. I'm not looking for bass right now. So I've got a highs group here. When you group stuff, it usually helps things gel together, even without even putting anything on. I think that's way too classical for this song maybe, but let's take the bass off again. Oops. Let's see what we've got. So I'll try and do a little counter melody to that. I do most stuff by ear, so you guys will be amazed to know I have no clue in music theory. So if it's out of key, let me know. So that's simple loop. I'll just duplicate, Control D, and then we'll just change the second half of it a little bit. Yeah, pick and mix with me. Ooh, wait a minute. Let's hear it by itself. Where are we, guitar? Oh, this one. Let me put purple so I know what I'm doing. Pink, whatever. Whoops. Try and put this a bit earlier? I don't know. So that's no effects necessary yet. I can go crazy. But what I do on the highs a lot of the time, I like this G-tune thing. It's also a tuner, which I probably should have used on the bass. but I've got it set to put it in 432. That's just a habit of mine. I like to put, so I'll put my IOTA there, the childish bells in 432, and then I'll have it like a preset 432 as well. So you can hear it with and without. So with the 432, the bass I tend not to do bass in 432. It ruins it. See if you can tell the difference. It just sounds richer. Yeah, to me, personally, it sounded richer, so I'm going with the 442. So yeah, that sounds straight after to change it by 8 hertz or something. Yeah, 432 from 440, yeah, 8 hertz. So if you were to do a bass in 432, it would move quite considerably if you're into all of that. But I'm gonna try and keep this mix so simple, because what I've learned is to simplify. I used to throw so much on a track and go crazy and overload my PC with stuff. This one's real cool too. This is free too. See, I like to show off the free stuff. Oh, I didn't even touch the flutes. Oh my goodness. See, now I'm gonna just start getting excited. This is where too much stuff starts getting thrown on for absolutely no reason. So in ethnic, I got this new flute called Sonatina flute, and it's free. Here it is. Put that on the flute there. Don't really need this, but let's go for a flute, because a flute in this kind of music, flute guitar, that's how it is. So it holds the note kind of nice, and to be fair, I just want to hear the guitar when I do this. So just building across, building all of these little blocks. I could drag this down, you see more blocks. And when I press this section, that would be like, I could call that, well, I won't call it intro, but I'll call it, I don't know, verse. For now. And let's go into the flute. I still don't know what key I'm in. For the most part, when I'm looking for keys and stuff, I literally, I'll either just fold the keys that I've put in, which you can like go into Ableton, into the timeline and go further back and fold it, or you can use there is, if you know what key you want to be in Ableton, you can have a key, something that keeps you in key to play, so no matter what you touch, you're always on that particular key of the song. So there's ways around not knowing music, not knowing music theory for sure. Is this thing on? Yes. Okay. So the guitar. Turn that down a bit. What? Okay. I have to press play again. So this is the problem. I'm addicted to making beats. I'm gonna go. Just try and change it up. I like that second remix. Okay. Yeah. I'm feeling like EQing, but I shouldn't because that's my habit. Bad habit. No EQ. No EQ. Let's put that in 432. How about that? Yeah. So we'll hear it back. Without 432, slight difference. Actually, I just think it sounds slightly richer. Personally. IMO. Who's laughing at me in the chat? Why you laughing at me? Makes sense. Okay. Catching up to the chat. Alright, you know they talking to me anyway, so it's all good. Joe and Velo. Sheep and Essentials. Okay. There you go. Don't know who that is. Let me carry on focusing. So back to IOTA, why it's the best. We got beefy bass here. Let's try different basses. I'm gonna drag it, duplicate it, actually. Drag it to the bass section. Because I have my highs in one group, bass in one group, drums in one group. And I leave this one for any samples, fills, or breaks, or risers that I want to put in. I'm just, this is how I think. I don't know. Whoa. See, this is why I is good. Compare. Well, if I just copy and paste that into there, it should do the trick. Sorry for any dogs. Take it down. Without you hearing it. To D2. Yeah. Incorrect on D1. Very interesting how that turned up on that. But that's the one we want. That's right. D0. Don't like it. I'm gonna move on to the drums. Don't like it. Let's keep moving. So drum kits. See how that kick goes. No. I think 7. I missed 6. I really like that snare though. Kick's not banging, but snare is banging, so I'd have to make 2 separate channels if I wanted the snare on the other one, snare on 6 and the kick on 7. So I think I'm going for 7, but yeah, that kick is just too wild. 9's no good. So it just depends on what song. Ooh. I'm going for 10. Alright. So pick my drums. Normally I've got another one that I created in Ableton, which I loaded all my samples into like one of these spots, so I can basically go through all my claps. I got like 127 claps, and then that many snares. So if I really wanted to be specific of what I wanted for the tune, I could just do it all in just like one self-created Ableton plugin. Which that's why Ableton's cool, but when it looks just like that. So cool. IoT Mini. Okay, I gotta find where the drums are now. Because it only exists in a small part of this keyboard here. There it is. C1. Okay. Try my best. Drums don't always work out. Let's see. Let's turn the velocity up on everything. Right? Feeling these half-hours kick. Ooh. Moving up. Dun. don't necessarily like that. But that's where loops come in. And I don't shy away from using loops for my oppression. Try and do most of my media as much as I can for myself. But one more time back to the highs, see if this mad instrument has anything it can add for me. What going on there? Boom bap. Therefore the boom bap thing. Okay, central plasm. So let's try and take something from something we already have and cheat, copy and paste. So I took this from the keys, I took this. Let's see what we can do to this. Probably gonna sound like crap first. We've got loads of instruments in here. Carry tune, free, absolutely free. We'll go to all, these are all the instruments that has on there. Anyway, start with what it's got. So that was insectoplasm or whatever. Alright, let's try angry aliens. Oh yeah, I tried that before, I didn't like it. Oh. Oof. Oh, so cool. Oh, it gives me free dishes. I'm not happy. Interesting. Let's put a 432 converter on here. Alright. Done. So that's with no EQs. So we want to make the bass come out more. What's that? Drum sound like actually. Nothing? Alright. Try and shift this guitar up a notch. Can I do shift up? Control shift up. Whoopsie! Don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, okay. I think it's there. No. Let's see what happens if I double this guitar up underneath itself. Whoop. Yeah, it sounds a little fuller. Like it wasn't coming through. Because remember, this is all playing. Oh, I thought it was. This is how it's been playing. Way too high now. This is the problem. So I need to turn things down now. So I was supposed to be playing everything in mono, but I wasn't. So and hopefully now I get a better idea of what it really sounds like. Everything's gonna be too loud, so let's take that down. And that down. So I just took the groups down because I kind of mixed everything already. Let's bring up the bass. So this one, 6 up. Can still go high. That's cool. So let me bring in the drums. So this is all in one right now. Yeah. So kind of knocking from there. And that's no compression, nada. Okay. Kind of mix that in. Let's bring in the highs. Okay. One of the coolest plugins that does cost is tonal balance 2. This is useful to get your stuff sounding professional. It allows you to achieve all of these different genres and fine-tune your balance from the bass to the low mids to the high mids to the highs, and get this crest factor right, which is the low end sitting right, not too compressed or not too dynamic when it sits in between here. So it just gives you a good gauge of what's professional, and you can also make your own target curves from other tracks that you like. Bear in mind, if you're using MP3s as a reference, they usually will cut off this bit here, right here, around 10,000. Cut it off really sharp, so don't use MP3s for the high, I don't think, especially for the high anyway. Like I know what I'm talking about. So I usually go for bass heavy, because I like the 808s. So that's the... I've got my own custom curve ones. I'll show you what they look like. Create target from audio folder. So if I go to music 2 reach. Tracks. Gotcha. So I have trap references, my favorite trap tracks that I've come across. Producers that I like their beats, that beats are just popping, crisp drums or whatever. So I will See, that just looks awful. So it's probably got about 3 or 4 tracks in there. But tonal balance, they use their guide from like thousands of different tracks to get you the right balance for your track. So I'll play what I got and see how bad it is according to tonal balance indicator, according to this custom file I just dropped in here. Way too much bass. That is a lot of that is usually the case with mixing. Like most of the time, we put too much bass in, so I'll turn it down. You can see that crest factor was sitting just right in there. If I put it at 3 seconds instead of 10, I think we get a better reading. Let's see. So it sounds really low probably to you now. But that means probably due to the EQing. You gotta EQ it right. It's not gonna sound popping straight away. So a lot of the time when we're producing sounds loud at first, gets turned down. It's like, what happened? Everyone thinks just because it sounds loud that it sounds better, but not necessarily. So it's showing that I need to bring up a little bit of content in the low loads and maybe drop a little bit in the highs. So that's cool. I'm gonna try the bass heavy one. Yeah. Good. Maybe because you're hearing me in Discord as well. No. Okay. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I don't even know what to do about that. I'm trying to see if I've got reverb on my voice. No. I don't know what it is. It's all good. So if I was to take the I'm gonna do is I think as far as static mix, standard average static mix, that's how I do it. So just leveling, not using no EQ, just use your levels, get everything sounding right with the levels. Instruments should sit resonantly together without even having the need for EQ. But I will go in and EQ it. So let's start from this is what we're EQing. So I'm gonna take out all the space for sometimes I try it's good to try different curves for sure. Sometimes I try descarve. Whoa. Right, so this one's really cool. Smooth. Okay, techniques I use for spotting resonant peaks. I'll use the earphones on Ableton, pick it up. I'll pick a point up. I'll go to the Q, make it about 7 or 8, somewhere there, and I will watch your ears. I'm looking for those overly high. So around 300 you normally get a lot of. I think there's a lot. And I'll probably just put this in oversampling mode because it just helps with phasing again, I think. Okay, now let's move to reverb. I'm going to use the standard Ableton reverb which I have on this channel here. Bunch of other stuff I've downloaded. Kobe, I don't need. Delete all of that rubbish. Incompetence is cool. I want to add some reverb here because reverb's going to give space to these instruments here. So unless you want to lift up any sounds, I wouldn't really use any compression or anything. Unless you're trying to do something. But I used to just use it religiously, compress, pile everything on. But that's when you just can't manage the distortion on the track. Overly distorted. Wait, here's another thing I normally do that I completely forgot to do. Which is actually vital. Let's go to mostly stuff. Metering, peoples. Metering. So important. Gain staging. This is a free meter gain staging which I had to find for Ableton to be precise. You can find out what your levels are in Ableton. I mean, just by looking here. In between these little gauges, in between everything we put on. But I like to be specific. And this setting is set at -18 dB. And you don't want it sitting in the red. Usually the red is a sign that you're doing too much. So if I can, I will go into the instrument and turn it down from there. In this case, I can't. So this is the place where I'll be turning it down from. And you can tell like the right side's higher than the left side. So some cases you might want to balance that. So I'm gonna turn it down till this needle's hitting about in the middle here, underneath the 3. It gives me room to, if I want to add stuff down the line, distortion, which will inevitably make it all louder. So you can see this side is, I think that's the right side. Can't remember how to tell here. What am I looking at? Anyway, this side's a little bit lower. Might lift it up. I hope that's done some good there. But I'm going to do the same to the guitar. Make sure we're at some good levels, y'all. This is the real boring stuff, but actually this is what makes it sound nice and crisp and clear, in my opinion. If that's what you're going for. So, way too high there. So yeah, got space to push that higher now. Everything's not gonna be clipping. This flute now. No volume. Oh yeah, volume there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna be too specific. So that's done. Put the meet me in. One last one on here. We got four instruments going on. This one. Whoa. I think that'll have to do. And very important to do the same with bass and the kick especially. I do it before and after because I usually add some mad distortion to the bass. Oof, way too high. See if we can get it. Ooh. So I'm trying to let it sit at 3. That 3 right there. Oh my goodness, can't do it. So fine. There we go. That'll do. Next, because when you add the kick and the bass hitting together, that minus 3 and at this minus 3 they actually add up and get to the 0, which is you want the bass and the kick hitting at 0. A little trick I learned. Everything's subjective. You can use your own methods. So like make this kick hit at the same. Okay. Somewhere there. refer it here. So now we have a problem. Okay, we got a lot of distortion going on, so I'll take the drive down. Sitting really nicely, and we haven't really EQ'd much at all. So once I've done some basic EQ moves and stuff, I can just go crazy creating and not worry much. Actually, I shouldn't even really be EQing at this point, but the amazing stuff happens when you hit it with the expensive stuff. Always. So we go online. So tricks of the trade. Now I can switch all this off. We can hear it in stereo. Okay, just the highs need lifting, need some hi-hats or something like that. But let us go into the master assistant and see what it does for us, because this is the coolest thing about Ozone as a master assistant. So if I play, we have go for modern, super stream. Wow. We'll try to just maximize it. Oh, it's not on. No wonder, of course it's not going to work if it's not on. Play a bit of stuff, turn it down so it doesn't blow anyone's ears whilst it's doing its thing. Apologies if that blew your ears off, but this thing got so low. See, this is what happens when you do your gain staging correctly. Things blow your head off. I hope it's sounding good on your end. So if I did, so on my master bus, this is the master. So put Ozone on the master. Then let's drop meter again, just to see what the levels are coming in. And I think a safe place for this, because Don't want it at minus 18. Everything's much higher. All the instruments coming together. So minus 15 dB, about a good point. Surprising. Wow, saying everything's really low. That's why it's pushed it so high. So that's kind of good to me anyway. I'm happy with that sound. It's kind of might be too much though, because if it's blowing like that, I see where the echo's coming from though. I'm coming out twice on Ableton for some reason. Where is that coming out? Yeah. If I mute that, so you should be able to still hear me then, if I mute one of the mics. Is that correct? Thank you very much. You always like the 808s. Respect, JT. Echo when you're speaking. Booba. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see what it's saying now. Okay. Ableton's weird. That's what it is. But let me try and get the right levels here. Oh yeah. So what I want to do definitely is add some compression to that guitar, just to bring out the lowest parts. Definitely gonna need EQing, no doubt. Definitely sounds better with the compressor on, slightly. Just do the compressor so that it's just slightly touching just over here. Just mixing it in. And I think that's pretty cool. See the levels now. Okay, now this is where I want to go crazy. Why do I keep skipping? So I was supposed to be doing this. So I added some delay to that guitar, quite a bit. So I'm just trying to add some more room to the highs. Only got 4 highs going. That's gonna need something for sure. Alright, this is gonna need some work. For sure. Let's see. Let's go. Definitely gonna need. Well, I think it needs compression. All of this is cutting out room for the bass section and all the highs to sit by themselves. Sorry, yeah. Finding that resonant peak there. Might just drop it a little. Yeah, a lot of start-stop business. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. Alright, bass now. Let's just make the bass. This because I'm getting sick of hearing this loop too. Let's add some crispy craziness. Camel Crusher, another free distortion plugin. Ooh, what will it do? Random. Before. Okay, can alright, sitting rather nicely. So I guess I'm on the EQing already. And this one. So I just EQ'd the group a little bit. I guess I could even try and go for resonant frequencies if I wanted to, but that's all really boring stuff. I know Empress is interested in that stuff for sure. Let's see how we can get the resonance here. So this is all of those instruments in the highs playing together on this EQ, and it's showing you where the resonance is showing you where they're overlapping heavy. So the ones that show up more often, so now I'm trying to add stereo width with this ozone plugin. This one, they did a free version of this. I think this is the free version. Yeah, it is. This is the free version they gave away. Really useful. Basically like a chorus. There just adds width. Chorus? No, am I saying that wrong? So hopefully you can tell the difference between, let's hear it in mono. Mono here. Okay, and that's not even with the bass and kick properly gelled together or nothing like that. That's like a separate science experiment in its own. What could I do to this? So how I'd normally go about messing with this is I could maybe try and drop the guitar on the keys. Randomly. So we're creating crazy sections now. Copy this into here, see how that does. Like that. Let's see what we can do to this crazy loop here. Let's try and invert it. That didn't work. Let's try reverse it. I like that bit there. It's weird. But it could be like it could be an intro The good thing about Ableton, you can just record these straight in. This is different to that one. So yeah, color code everything. Let me save this. Save live set as any names. Let's see. There we go. What should I call it? I'm gonna call this one. Call it pigs. Because that's been what today has been about. So save pigs in. I'm not saving it in here. I think it's got potential. So I save it in here. And then I want to go through Dian's beat. So we got something started there. Little late. Heavy production. No. Anyway, that's done. Let's move on. I'm gonna try to do one more. A little bit of arrangement. Then I can cut this video and take it out later at the end of this crap. We go by Pete now. Pete. How you mean? Okay. Oh my goodness, where is it? Dian. LP Trig. Ah, that's with my friend. So we have Dion. Too many beats. Yeah, just catching up to the chart. Notice. Use Logic and sometimes notice I don't have the right one in the right spot. Sometimes may record the latency of time. Yeah, the guitar VST is poker. Absolutely poker. So this thing's loading at the moment. And yeah, I'm gonna play Crow Flow. This is my boy's beat. Crow, he's in my Discord, another producer. I hope it's playing. I see SoundCloud struggling a bit. Yeah, I think I might have to end the stream, and I'll leave Leon's request for another time if this is not gonna play. Let's see. No network. Excellent. Let's see. Am I still connected? And the SoundCloud's just happened to go. It's fine, SoundCloud. The beat loaded. You can leave me alone now. I'll take this off here. Am I still on? Still going? It's not on now. I might as well end stream. Should I? Yeah, it looks like I'm struggling. It's that time of the night where the internet just starts getting completely wappy. I'm gonna end stream. But thank you everybody for coming along. I'll have to cut this all out now. Muchas gracias. Peace out to everybody watching. Anybody on Facebook, I wasn't replying because very much busy, and I have lost. Sorry? I don't know, but I'm just saying goodbye. Chili bop bye yet. Gonna get high yet. Say.